first chapter. The sutra says, Sa purvesham api guruhu kalena na avachedat. Now, can you just go through the meanings first, and then we'll go ahead. Okay, so we'll go through the meanings. Sa means that. So now, if we start from Sutra 21, there Patanjali Rishi is saying that Tivra Samveganam Asana, that is for those whose will is intensely alive, those who are making super effort, then that what you call aim of ours, or that goal of ours, is asana, near. It is very near. Then, of course, he says this intensity is of three kinds. Then in 23, he says that there is another way, va. Ishwar pranidhanat, va. Va means or. Or there is another way, and that is surrender to Ishwar. Of course, we'll go into the meaning of Ishwar pranidhan again. So he's saying, either your will is intensely alive, then you're near, or you're making super effort, you're near. But there is another way, that is by surrendering to Ishvara inside. Then he gives a definition of what that Ishvara is. Klesha karma vipak ashay aparamushta purush vishesha Ishvara. This Ishvara is untouched by the applications, karma, and the consequences of karma, and ashay, the deposits of karma which are left behind. It is untouched by that, and that is why this Ishwar is called as Purush Vishesha. Right? So, and then he says in 25, have you taken 25?
I'll bring it up on the screen.
Yeah.
I'll bring it up on the screen.
Then he says in 25 that this Ishwar, within this Ishwar, the seed of knowing, of course, we took two translations, seed of knowledge also. The seed of knowing expands into infinity. And now he's saying that this Ishwar is untouched by time. So let us just go through this sutra, then we'll again recap the previous sutras. Sa purvesham api guru kalena avachedat.
So, as you can see on the screen, Sa purvesham api guruhu kalena anavachedat. The translation is that Ishwar.
Sa means that. That Ishwar which we have been talking in the last 3-4 sutras, that Ishwar, right?
That Ishwar, Purvesham, which is the previous ones, ancients.
So in Gujarati, it would be Purvo Onu, of the ancients, of the previous ones, Purvesham, of the, right?
Api Guru.
Also, Api is also. He is also the Guru of those who have come before him. Right? He is also the Guru of those who have come before him. Why is he the Guru of those who come before him? Then he says,
he is the Guru of the ones who come before him because he is unavachedat, because he is kalena unavachedat, which means he is unlimited by time, or he is not limited by the dimension of time.
Yeah. So supposing we say that there is a point in time where everything started, and we call that point as Purva. All those who have moved from time to no time, or have moved from time to being conditioned by time to being unconditioned by time, right? They move through that point. Now, we may say, because we see time as past, present, and future, we may say that point was somewhere in time, but that point is nowhere in time. That point is always, it is always fresh. So if I was to say that Krishna came after Ram, but when Krishna is in that point of time where everything started, then he is the guru of Ram also, because that point never becomes old. That point never becomes the past tense. And it is so, this we have to understand at this point. So he's saying, by virtue of his being unconditioned by time, by virtue of his reaching that point where he is unconditioned by time, he is also Api, the guru of all those who have preceded him, all those who have come before him. This is the normal translation. We'll try to go a little deeper into this sutra, right? So again, we'll just try to go back a little. In 21, we said it is near for those who make intense effort. So now he's saying, in the next, he says, it is also near for those who surrender to Ishvara. Now, let us just bring in Gurdjieff over here. Gurdjieff says man does not have a soul. Man has to create a soul. Now, there's a lot of truth in these words, so we have to look at them. So, we're going to divide this soul into two parts. And one is a crystallized soul, and one is a non-crystallized soul, which Gurdjieff says is not a soul. He says man has an essence. He has to transform that essence into a soul, right? So, if we take the meaning of Ishwar as soul, the crystallized soul, right? So, in the next sutra, he's saying, Ishwar pranidhanatva, atva means or, you can reach that near state by Ishwar pranidhan. Now, what is the meaning of this word pranidhan? Dha means to gather attention. Ni means to take that attention inside. And pranidhan, because there are two prefixes, pra and a ni. So, dha, gather attention. Ni, to take the attention inside. And pranidhan, pra, to take it with extra effort and also take it back to the source, to go to the first point, to take that attention back to the source. Now, again, I'm going to, so in the sutra number 22, sutra number 23, he says that you can even reach that near state by something called Ishwar Pranidhan, collecting your attention, taking the attention inside and taking it to the source of attention, the beginning where attention came from. Now, attention is the most valuable commodity we have in our life. How do we use our attention? How do we train our attention? Right? And I'm going to again use some Gurdjieffian terminology from Gurdjieff. Attention is the property of the soul which has been abducted by the machine. Gurdjieff calls the body-brain system the machine. right? And he says attention is a property of the soul which has been abducted by the machine. Now, if attention is the property of the soul, then it comes in all the rules of the soul. But if attention has been abducted and become a property of the machine, the body-brain system, then it follows all the rules of the body-brain system. Right? This abduction of attention, this kidnapping of attention, which is the property of the soul, right? We call as seduction of attention, and it leads to a state which is called identification. So in Sutra number 23, he says that you can reach that state by something called Ishwar Pranidhan. And Ishwar Pranidhan means collecting your attention where it is stuck with the machine, sending it back inside, and when it goes inside, Ishwar is the source, the soul is the source of that attention. It belonged to him in the first place. Now, as long as attention is a property of the machine, of the body-brain system, it is subject to all these laws. So, which are these laws? He tells us in Sutra number 24. Klesha, Karma, Vipaka, Ashayi, right? These are the laws. What are the laws? The 5 kleshas. Now, let me just take a small example over here. These are called the 8 imperfections, right? Supposing I'm worried that whether my son is going to pass the exam tomorrow. All of us worry. Just the subject of worry changes. So I'm worried that my son is going to pass the exam tomorrow. So that thought keeps on coming in my mind. And my attention is stuck with that thought, right? So the machine is creating thoughts. The body-brain system is creating thoughts. And because I'm attached to my son, right? My attention is what you call, which belongs to the soul, is abducted by the machine because tomorrow my son has an exam. I hope I'm coming across in this. I hope I'm coming across in this. Now, every time I get the thought that what will happen in the exam, every time I, what you call, think about it, worry about it, I'm repeating that sanskar in the mind. I'm repeating that habit in the mind. I'm giving the machine more power to steal more attention from the soul. So the attention, which was the property of the soul, has been stolen by the machine, and it is now identified with a thought, with a worry, what will happen tomorrow. Now let us see the 5 kleshas over here. Avidya, Asmita, Rag, Dvesh, Abhinivesh. Rag is attachment. So I'm attached to my son, Rag. I'm attached to my son, and that has abducted my attention from the soul to the machine. Now, every time I think about this, I repeat the thought in my mind. I'm planting the seed of Raga, one of the kleshas. That seed is going to follow the path of karma. It is going to ripen vipak, and it is going to, what you call, create new seeds, which are the library or the where all the karmas are lying, which is called ashay, the new seeds. And it will go through this process. And we have to understand this, that now through our conscious effort, that is, supposing I pause the thought, I say, I don't want to waste my attention on this thought. I don't allow that thought to abduct my attention. Then I'm not allowing the machine to steal attention from the soul. And I free the attention. I don't worry. It means that I don't worry. And in this, I may use a little bit of contemplation. I may say that there is a higher force taking care of my son. There is no need for me to worry, right? Why should I worry, etc. So I free the attention. Once attention becomes free, it goes back to the soul. It becomes the property of the soul. Now, supposing we say that there is a through different hungers, through different inclinations, etc. Right? So all the attention has been abducted by the machine. And as I free attention and it goes to fill that lake, the property of the soul goes back to the soul. Now, when attention was abducted by the machine, when it is identified with the thought, what will happen tomorrow, then it becomes a part of all the laws of karma. But the minute I free attention and send it back to the soul, then it becomes klesha karma vipak ashay aparamusht. I freed that attention from these laws, and now that attention is not subject to these laws. I hope I'm able to come across. So the whole spiritual journey is freeing attention from where it is attached and giving it back to the soul because it is the property of the soul. Now we do this in different ways. We pause our reactions, we take them out, or we try to practice self-remembering where we are performing the functions of the machine, but even keeping one arrow of attention on self. So attention is going back to the self, to the soul. Now, so we see that the whole meaning of the word Ishwar Pranidhan, even though normally translated as surrender to Ishvara, it is actually a process of collecting attention and sending it back to Ishvara. And this is done by self-remembering double-arrowed attention. I can take another example. So, say I fall in love with someone, then all my attention is what you call abducted by my emotional center. I'm only interested in what she's doing, right? And if she, now that this is attachment, rag. But supposing we are sitting on a garden bench and she asks me that, how long will you love me? And I say, okay, I'll love you till there are stars in the sky or there are grains of sand on the beach, etc., etc. Right? So here it is not only rag attachment, but it is also abhinivesh. There is a longing for something to continue. There is a longing for something to last forever. And that is another klesh called abhinivesh. So here you see how these kleshas are, what do you call, abducting our attention and sending it on the path of karma. So we have two types of attention, machine attention and soul attention, right? Now, machine attention is a part of linear time. It comes under the conditions of time. Soul attention is free of linear time. It is in some eternal time. It is not identified with what will happen tomorrow. All of us are identified with what will happen tomorrow, right? The minute we are identified with one of the kleshas, the whole journey of klesha karma vipak ashay starts. So that was sutra number 23, right? 23, right? So I'll just, something which I just coined yesterday morning. Absence of attention is avidya, the first klesh. Fragmentation of attention, that I am separate from you, my ego is separate from you, right? Fragmentation of attention is asmita, the I amness. Seduction of attention is raga, what you call attachment. Repulsion of attention is dvesha. And the continuous longing for attention is abhinivesha. It wants to go on forever. Now let us see this in another way. Mr. Tavaria, my teacher, he used to say that the soul is the primary body and the physical body-brain system is the secondary body. But he used to say that in our state, the secondary is controlling the primary. The body-brain system, in Gurdjieffian language, the machine is what you call controlling the soul, right? Because the machine is stealing attention from the soul all the time, right? So in Gurdjieffian terminology, the machine is controlling the soul. In Mr. Tawariaji's terminology, it is the secondary body has become primary when it is not primary. It is stealing everything from the primary body. Now, as long as the machine keeps on taking attention from the soul, it controls the soul. The soul does not have any will of its own. Its will is overpowered by the will of the machine, right? And the machine is just interested. The body-brain system is just interested in fulfilling desires, fulfilling urges, fulfilling inclinations, fulfilling different hungers. And as it is attached to all these things, it keeps stealing attention. Right? And it controls the soul in this way. So the secondary body controls the primary body. Now, as we separate attention from the functions of the machine, as we separate attention from the hungers, the inclinations, the attitudes, the habits of the machine, attention becomes free and it goes back to the soul. Now, the soul has no will in its present state. It is totally controlled by the hungers and the inclinations of the machine. But as attention comes back to the soul, it's what you call sleeping will is awakened. Its sleeping will is awakened. And at one point, it frees itself from the control of the machine. The soul frees itself, the primary body frees itself from the control of the secondary body, the body-brain system. At that time, it is not willing to what you call go with the urges, the inclinations of the physical body of the primary, of the secondary body, of the machine. A point comes where now the machine cannot steal any more attention from the soul. The will of the soul has awakened to such an extent that now the machine cannot steal attention any longer. At this moment, that soul becomes Ishvara. Ishvara means the controller. From the root ish to control, where I choose the controller, right? So till then it is just a soul, it is not a controller because it is being controlled by the secondary body, right? Explain this if you want. You can explain, then I'll go ahead.
This is the diagram that is used in the Gurdjieff system to explain how most of humanity, most of us work, and what is the higher possibility that we have, right, of having a soul which is the controller controlling us. The diagram on the top, the first diagram, there you see that on the left-hand side is the machine or the body-brain system with all its desires, impulses, cravings. On the inside, there is the essence, right? This is the raw material of the soul. The soul hasn't been crystallized right now. There is nothing organized here. So what happens? An impulse comes from life, and based on that impulse, I react. I don't respond because there's nothing within me that can decide what to do. Right? So I just constantly react to life. In that way, life becomes active. I become passive in the sense that I'm passively just reacting to life. Now, slowly, through the process that was just explained, if I'm able to pull back my attention from my senses, if I'm able to bring it back to my soul, if I'm able to practice separation and all of those things that we talk about, there is something that starts getting created within us. Our essence develops and our soul starts getting developed. Now the soul becomes Ishwar, or it starts getting some semblance of control. So life will come in, right? All the impulses from life will come in, but now the direction is reversed. Now life is, if you can notice, life is the positive pole here. Now life becomes the negative pole. And something inside us that has become organized, that becomes the positive pole. And that controls how I respond to situations. So from reacting to impulses passively, now I'm actively choosing my response to the situation.
So when attention was machine attention, it was subject to the laws of klesh, karma, vipak, ashay. The minute it was freed, it is free from the laws of klesha, karma, vipak, ashay. It becomes soul attention. The soul originally owned that attention. Now, when he becomes Ishvara, Patanjali calls him as Purusha Vishesha Ishvara because he's free of these 8 imperfections, Klesh, Karma, Vivkakashay. He's free of them, right? And he's now Purush Vishesh Ishvara. This was Sutra number 24. 25, he says, the soul of all knowing. I'm not saying all knowledge over here, even though many translations have said all knowledge. We are saying the soul, the seed of all knowing, not the soul, the seed of all knowing expands into infinity. Now, this he's preparing us for this sutra which we are going to take today, that is 26. Sapurvesham api guru kalena na avachedat. Now, just see this, that once this Ishwar is created, and the seed of knowing which is in Ishwar, as it expands, because he's saying here, Purvesham api guru, also the guru, as it expands. Every time we have an expansion of knowing or consciousness, because consciousness is the power of knowing, right? So every time we have a, what you call, expansion of consciousness, to a certain extent, we become the guru of those who have not expanded as much as us. I hope I'm coming across in this. We become we can show the path, we can show the road to those who have not expanded as much as us. Gujarati, we can say, એ દિશા બતાવી શકે છે, સૂચન કરી શકે છે. So he's saying, now this is going to connect with the next sutra, because in the next sutra he's going to say that guru, that Ishvara is free from the condition of time. Now, when we say something is free from the condition of time, we are also saying something at the same time, that it is in all times. We in Gujarati, we will say, sarvatra che, it is everywhere. That is why it is not in time. I don't know if I'm coming across it. So it is, when we say that this Ishvara is free of time, he is also in all times. And how do we know that he is in all times? Because the previous sutra, the seed of knowing is expanded into infinity. We can feel him in all times. We can know him in all times. And that is how we come to sutra number 26. Sa purvesham api guruhu kalena na avachedat. Now here we must understand that in the previous sutra he said that the seed of knowing. So here we are still in the process of Patanjali, in the process of his Yogasutra. We are still talking about samadhi with seed. We have not yet come to samadhi without seed, right? And that is a separate part. It will come later on, right? So we have to understand that. Now, in the previous sutra, he used the word sarvagna bijam, the bij which brings knowing from all sides. How do we practice this in our daily lives? So one of the techniques which Gurdjieff gives is what he calls external considering, trying to make the object as the subject. That is, somebody comes to me and is talking about his pains and sorrows. And I try to live the sorrows and pains as that person, not as myself, not as I understand them, but as if I am that person. I go into his shoes. And this movement from, so that person is no longer the object for me, it becomes the subject for me, right? And this is an expansion of the power of knowing. The seed of knowledge which was within me has expanded. And in this way, that is why there's, in the Hindu system, there is a lot of emphasis on seva, but right seva, not I did seva. I cannot do seva, right? But on seva, so that the seed of knowing it expands from just I into something else and into something else. And there's an expansion. And in that, when we say that Ishwar is timeless, we can sense and feel that Ishwar everywhere, because that seed of knowing has expanded. Kaketa will just try to explain this in a different way.
There is a beautiful doha from Kabir which tries to talk something about this. I'm sure many of us would have listened to it on YouTube. It goes like, "Moko kahan dhoonde re bande, main to tere paas mein." And then there is a lot of lines saying, "Na masjid mein, na mandir mein, na tirth mein," and everything. And then he says, "मैं सब श्वासों के श्वास में खोजी हुए तुरंत मिल जाऊं, एक पल की ही तलाश में, कहे कबीर सुनो भाई साधु, मैं तो हूँ विश्वास में." And here,
so Kabir is saying, you are sitting next to me. Now, his seed of knowing has expanded into infinity. He's saying, you are sitting next to me. My shoulder is against yours. And he's saying, you are in the breath of the breath. So when the breath comes in, it gives life. So it is within breath is life, and you are the breath of the breath. You are the life which is in the breath, Kabir is saying. I mean, this is the expansion of the seed of knowledge into infinity, knowing into infinity. Now, we'll go into this sutra, but in this sutra, he has used the word kalena na avachedat. Two prefix, the prefix of, we'll get rid of the prefix ava, and just ched means to cut, to break into two, to divide into two, that which by time is divided into two. Now, when it is not divided into two, then it is all times. Then it becomes sarvatra, everywhere. And that is why when you are unconditioned by time, you are in all times at the same moment. So that is why we said that that moment in time where you're free of time, and in that moment is ever fresh, and in that moment you're the guru of all those before you, because there is no past, future, present over there. It is the beginning of everything, and still every time it is the beginning of everything. Now we'll go into the sutra. Sa purvesham api guruhu kalena anavachedat. Here we saw that Sa means that Ishvara, which he's talking in the past sutras. One light is switched off?
Light is gone.
Huh?
We are on inverter.
Oh, we are in inverter. Acha. Hmm? What?
Should I switch on the fan?
No, it's okay. You can switch on those fans, yeah, if you want. So we said Sir is the Ishwar said in the word Purva, and from that Purve Sham, of the previous ones, right? The definition of the word Purva is Purva, Purvati iti, the first, the foremost. So we can say in a certain way that Adam was the first. In the Bible, Adam was the first. Everybody else followed. So that moment that time when Adam was in heaven, there was no time. In heaven, there was no time. But he was banished out of heaven. And in this banishing out of heaven, from no time, he came into time. Can you understand? And that point in time where he was banished from heaven is called Purva. Purva, the first. Everybody else follows, the foremost. Right? Right? So that point in time, the first, where so yeah. So he's saying Sa Purve Sham Api Guru. Now this word Purva has to be taken in the sense of a mansion, Niketan, what we call. There is that point in time, and every time somebody reaches that point in time, they fill that space. They fill that space. Right? And it is a point in time which is boundaryless. It's timeless. It is that point in time. But there is a school of Indian thought that the very word Purva, being the past, it implies that there was a previous experience. Right? And that previous experience left a trace. We won't use the word residue as in karma, but it left a trace, right? And something followed out of that trace. So let us just take it in another way. That initially there was Shiva and Shakti. Shakti was Shiva and Shiva was Shakti. But at some point, Shakti decided to create the universe. Shiva asked Shakti to create the universe. How did Shakti create the universe? Because she knew that she had created some universe in the past, and with that sanskar, that memory, she recreated the universe again. But the universe created is always new. That point is always new, even though there is something in the past. It is not a repetition. I don't know if I'm coming across in this. That point in time is always fresh. So there is this school of Indian thought which says that there is some trace left behind, and because of that trace, he knows that this has happened previously, but at this moment in time, he is the guru of all those because he is before everyone else. You want to take that analogy of the baby? Yeah. I'll just explain me a moment. Keta will explain the analogy of the baby.
Let's try to look at this phenomenon. which is the phenomenon of the same point in time being new, as well as it being it having traces of something done in the past, right? So how do you try to marry these two seemingly uh, opposing ideas? Let's look at it through two examples. The first example is let's take a baby that's born. It could either be an animal baby, it could either be a human baby. Now, instinctively, now before that, this baby that's born, right? The point in time when that baby is born, that is new. The baby did not exist before that time. The time it came out of the mother's womb, that is new, right? That point in time is new. However, when that baby is born, the baby has some instinctive habits that it already has within it, right? So it knows who its mother is, right? It knows where to go to find food. It knows a lot of these things that are instinctive. So these are the traces. These are the traces of all the past babies that have been born, right? That are still living, that are there in the new baby that's born. So this is sort of the movement is still new, but that movement has the residue of all the past times, right? When a baby was born. And the same thing can be said about the universe. When the universe starts after the Big Bang, right? The scientists say that there are certain quantum fluctuations. Some parts, some parts of the space are just wired or vibrating in a different way, maybe based on the past time, past when the universe was created, which determine, right, which galaxies will form where, which stars will form where, and all of those.
I remember many years ago, we were studying this organic memory. And one cell is moving from here to here. And supposing that cell dies, then a new cell comes with all the same memory. The cell is new, but it comes with all the same memory. And you're saying if it is happening on this scale, then the same thing is happening in reincarnation. The sanskar, the memory, comes again with the memory. And it's the same law which is applying here, which is applied here, comes over there. Anyway, we'll go forward in this. So the Shastras say that Shakti projects the universe from her womb. And this she does because there are previous memories that it has been done before. And that is, so we see the word purva over here. We can say it in a different way, that once I was sitting in Mysore late in the night with Mr. Tavaria, and we were discussing the Ramayana and all. And he was saying, what do you feel, that Ram came only once? It has been repeated so many times, he kept on coming. So we feel that Adam came only once, but Adam came and went so many times. That point in time keeps on coming, right? So there is that previous trace. We will not call it residue, we'll call it trace. There's a previous trace, and that trace, she knows, Shakti knows that she can project the universe from her womb because it has been done before. But even if it has been done thousands of times before, it's always the first time. It's always now. It is never old. And that is why we have this very famous statement of Jesus, where he says, before Abraham was, I am. And Keso will explain that statement.
So this is from the Bible of this is from the Gospel. This is from John's version, right? From John's Gospel. It's the 8th part, line 57 to 59. He is talking to Jews, and he's telling them about, Jesus is talking to the Jews, and Jesus is telling them about Abraham, the teacher who they believed in. The Jews asked him, you are not yet 50 years old, and yet you are saying that you've seen Abraham. Abraham was someone who
Was the first
was
prophet.
the first prophet, right? Centuries or let's say decades before Jesus. And Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham was, I am. And the important thing here is he did not say before Abraham was, I was. He said before Abraham was, I am.
Right. So in that moment, I am, when he's in that moment of time where just Adam has come out of heaven, that in between boundary, you are just am. There is no past, present, and future. So you cannot say before Abraham was, I was, but I am before Abraham was. Everybody else followed because they are in linear time now. Their history is in linear time. So he's saying, Sa Purve Sham Api Guru. Now let us go into the word Guru. A forefather, an ancestor, a respected person, right? A teacher, a mentor, a guide, an expert in a certain field of knowledge. These are the what you call meanings of the noun guru. The adjective guru means heavy, weighty, great, large, something with the power of gravity, something which is important, which has momentum, which is heavy with spiritual weight, with spiritual knowledge, right? Now, there are two definitions of the word guru, and we'll just go into them. Giryate stuyate mahatvat. Because of his largeness, mahat, because of his largeness, because of his wholeness, we cannot help it but to, what do you call, praise him and sing songs of praises of him. Because of his largeness, mahatvat, because of his largeness, we cannot help it but to invoke him and to praise and to sing songs about him. So you could say that you're sitting on your terrace and you're looking at the sky, at the space, at the stars. And because of the largeness, the overwhelmingness, you can only praise it. You can't say anything else about it. And similarly, when you see this same phenomenon in somebody, you say, then because of his largeness, you can only, what do you call, praise that person. Stuyate, giryate, to praise and to invoke. Now, this giryate, it is a, what do you call, it comes from gru. That is to swallow and to call out, to praise. Now, both these are connected with the throat. You swallow also from the throat and you call out from the throat, to praise also from the throat. That is, you understand somebody who has understood, swallowed something, and now can talk about that something. That person is a guru. So, one who has swallowed something and can talk about something. Now, if we go a little deeper into this, we'll see that the Vishuddhi Chakra is here. Vishuddhi Chakra is connected with space, is connected with the Akash Tattva. So, to swallow the impressions of life, to extract something from them and give it out as a kind of teaching, that is the Guru. Now, there's another, what you call, meaning of the word guru, and that is grunati upadeshati ved adi shatrani shastrani indra adi deva bhya. That is the one who, what do you call, gives the teaching of the Vedas and other teachings, shows the line, shows the path, even to Indra and the gods. That is also Guru, that he shows the teaching to Indra and the gods. He is the imparter of knowledge. So, Sarve Sham, Sa Purve Sham Api Guru, also the Guru. And we saw as an adjective, it means heavy with spiritual weight, heavy with good qualities of the scriptures. Now, there is also one more root in what you call Grunati, that is Gri, to invoke. When you hold your presence inside, when you invoke from a higher dimension your presence inside, when you feel your presence inside, what Gurdjieff calls self-remembering. That self is also the guru. Mr. Tavaria calls it the inner guru, to invoke your presence inside. Now, before Panini, the word guru had a Proto-Indo-European root, and we can read it with the word gravis in Latin. And gravis in Latin means from which we get the word gravity, means heavy, weighty, serious. Now, there's a popular, what do you call, folk kind of, what do you call, huh? Interpretation of the word guru, kind of a folk kind of interpretation, where it is based on the two syllables, gu and ru. Gu meaning the one who gets rid of, dispels, and ru meaning darkness, the one who leads you from darkness to light, guru. And that is a more popular, what you call, etymological kind of theory. It is not what do you call, accepted by all the scholars, but in the Adhyatara Upanishad, there is a slok on this also, right? In the Adhyatarak Upanishad. Now the next word is kalena. Through time, kal vade, kalena, by time, through time. That is kal being the instrumental. Now kal, the here again we have two definitions, and I think we did this when we did Kali. It comes from the root kal, to count, to count. That the whole jagat, that the whole movable universe, the whole jagat, it is moving everywhere, everything is happening, but that place where everything is counted, where everything is recorded, that is time. That place where everything is done, that is called time. So, જે જગ્યામાં એની ગણના થાય છે, જે આખી સૃષ્ટિ હલનચલન કરે, the whole universe is moving, but the place where everything is recorded, where everything is counted, that is time. Now, there's another definition of the word time, and that is Krishnatvam lati grunati ishat. That is, Krishnatvam means blackness. Krishnatvam means blackness. Now, in a simple example we can take over here is that time brings blackness. So if you keep a ripe banana on the table, then after a few days, a part of the banana will become black. Yeah. Can you understand? This is the movement of time. The what do you call, the banana has gone through the process of time, right? So Krishnatvam lati, that is, it brings blackness. Time is that factor which brings blackness. But Krishnatvam is not just ordinary blackness. Krush, to pull, from which we get the word Krishna, the one who attracts everything to himself, right? So he attracts everything in such a way that even light cannot escape from that. That powerful is the attraction, Krishnatvam, right? It is an inky darkness. So in science we say the light cannot escape from a black hole. And that gives blackness, but it gives ishat, blackness, subtly, slowly. So the whole banana will not become black overnight or something. A small part of it will become, and a small part of it will become, and this is the movement of time where you'll see. That is slowly everything will, what you call, get destroyed in time, become black in time. Then it not only makes it black, but it also swallows it. Huh? It also, what do you call, takes, so everything in that, in time, which is inky darkness, everything is swallowed in that inky dark. Now, try to see this, the action of time. Again, we'll take the example of the banana. So with the action of time on the banana, that banana is divided into two parts, right? One is the black part and one is the non-black part. This dividing action of time is called chidda. Huh? Chidda. So he says, kalena anavachedat. So we'll take a word, we'll just now get, don't use the prefix ava, kalena chedat, right? So the action of time creates two parts, the black part and the white part, and slowly even the white part goes into blackness. I don't know if I'm able to explain this, the action of time. Right? So wherever there is time, everything is counted, everything is recorded somewhere. And everything, as it moves through time, moves deeper and deeper into blackness, into nothingness, into inky darkness. Now, I just want to, what do you call? Now, the word used here is un means not, avachedat, that Ishvara is not conditioned by time. That time cannot divide it into two parts, the black part and the white part. He is not conditioned by time because time cannot divide it into two parts. And this dividing into two is what is called the Dvaivikaran, the dividing into two. The action of time is Dvaivikaran. I want to just add something here before I go ahead. The word Maya, because we're going to come to that word a little. Niyate anena iti Maya. To measure, to compare is Maya. Right? So if time has cut something into two, you can compare this part with that part. It is not really two, it is one. So there's nothing to compare, there's nothing to measure. It is measureless, that, immeasurable, that. But because, what do you call, time has cut it into two, there is the action of Maya where we feel this part is a little better than that part. If you cut off the black part of the banana, you can eat the white part of the banana. Right? So this is the, and we forget that the banana was whole at one time, and that is the action of Maya, is to make everything into parts. Now we'll go into the next word, anavachedat. So we said chid. Chid means to create a gap, to create a cut. Now we have to take this in two ways, in space and in process also. So in space, to create a gap, like we said, that you cut two things into one thing into two. But even in all processes, there will be gaps. And this is, of course, where Gurdjieff's law of octaves come in, right? There will be gaps. And anything, any business you go to do or anything, there will be gaps where obstacles will come in and you'll have to retreat a little. You can't just keep on progressing in your business every day. There will be retreating and going ahead. And so there are chid. So chid is in space, it is in time also. But he's saying here, this Ishvara, he's unaffected by this, he's untouched by this. So in that process of Ishvara, there are no gaps, or the gaps are filled in automatically by the grace of Ishvara or something of that. So do you want to explain this a little? You can.
If we take the example of the law of octave, many of you will be familiar about it, of this concept from previous. Anything that starts cannot move in the same direction unless there are external effort, external shocks provided to bridge the interval. So any activity we do, there are some gaps that are there in that.
Say like I go to build a factory or a building, and overnight the prices of cement go up. Now I don't have enough money to continue my work, so I have to take help from somewhere else. There's a gap, and in that gap I have to take help. I'll take a loan from the bank to what you call buy the costly cement and continue my building that way, something like that. Yeah.
And now, what is it that creates these gaps, right? It is the fundamental nature of time that any process that moves in time, there will be some intervals or gaps in that process, right? And this is exactly what we mean by being
Chid,
right?
to cut into
Chid
two.
by time.
It's a process. Some part will be good of the banana, some part will be bad of the banana. Right? Everything will move through the process of time. But here we are saying that Ishwar is untouched by the limitations of time. So even if he is in a process, all the gaps are filled in that process. There is no, what do you call, a cut in the process. So કાલ વડે એ નીચે ઉતરતો નથી, એ છેદાતો નથી. Now here, all the translations which I saw here, this is the translation till now, that he is untouched by time, he is unconditioned by time. But here there is a small mystery over here, and it needed a little bit of contemplation to come to something, to make something out of it. Why did he use the word avachedato nathi? Na avachedat. Why did he not use the word? Why did he not just say na chedat? By coming across in this, I hope so. That why did he say why did he add the prefix ava? Na avachedat. He could have just said na chedat. He is unconditioned by time, but he added the prefix ava over here. You'll have to show it on different. Now, if we go into the meaning of the word ava, and the dictionary has so many meanings that you really can't come to anything. But he could have no, any. He should have just used na chedat directly. Why did he put ava over there? He could have just said na chedat. He is unconditioned by time. And this is what all the translations are saying. I've not seen any translation. I was shocked because nobody has exactly explained the word ava over here. Now, to understand this word ava, we will not understand it through its meaning. We'll try to understand another word and then come back to this. So we have the word called avatar. I know all of you all have heard the word avatar. Now, avatar, what do you call? The root in that is through, means the one who has sailed across, the one who has crossed the bridge, right? The one who has gone across to the other shore, swum across to the other shore. And ava means after going to the other shore, he comes back. Avatar. So in English, we would say he descends, but descend is not the good word. But descend in the sense of he incarnates. He does not, what do you call, fall down. It's not a falling down. So the it's in this one. So here Patanjali is definitely telling us something, that not just unconditioned by time. He's not telling us that. He's saying that Adam came out of heaven, went through a long journey, and then he comes to a point where he goes back into heaven, but to help others, he comes back. And this coming, when he comes back, he is no longer conditioned by the laws of time. He may play the game of life, he may enter into all the laws of life, but now he is no longer conditioned by time. Time cannot do anything to him. He's just playing the game of life. And so we would have to take this word avachedat in the meaning that a person has gone across to that point where he is unconditioned by time, and then he comes back from that point. And when he comes back from that point, then kalena na avachedat. Otherwise, it would have been kalena na chedat. I hope I'm coming across in this, right? So this, I would put this as just something extra over here. So ava in the sense of returning, ava in the sense of returning after crossing the border and coming back. Now, when we are doing our practices, we may come to a point in deep meditation where we may get glimpses of where we are unconditioned by time. We may have those glimpses of moments where we are unconditioned by time. But when we come back into time, we are still what you call conditioned by time. He's not talking about that, right? He's talking about this person who has gone across. He's unconditioned by time, but when he comes back, he still remains avachedat. That time cannot create that gap in him. The process of time has no effect on him. Of course, the body is in time, it will always have an effect on the body. You want to explain those laws, you can explain those laws.
Again, going back to the concept of ray of creation, which Gurdjieff has explained. So what Gurdjieff says is the entire creation, the creation of the universe, happened in 7 levels, right? Where the highest was the absolute, then all the entire universe, then the galaxy, sun, all the planets, earth, and the moon. Now, all of us, we are living on the earth. And what he said is that as you move lower and lower in the ray of creation, the number of laws that we are subjected to increases. So, for example, we live on earth. And as you can see on the screen, on earth, people are subject to 48 orders of law. Right? What this means is earth has a gravity. Right? So, I cannot fly in the sky if I want to. I live in a country, right? The country has some rules and regulations. I need to follow those rules and regulations. I live in a family. I am of a certain religion, right? So all those rules and regulations are applicable to people who are living on earth, to all of us. These are the 48 laws that all of us are bound by. Now, the what we talked about right now, the Ishwar, right? The Purush Vishesh Ishwar, he's gone to the highest level where he's experienced timelessness, and now he's consciously come back to earth. But because he's come back to earth, right, there are 48 laws. So how does he not have to follow the laws? And the catch here is that the attention of this person who's transcended and come back is completely in his control. And because the attention is totally, completely at all times in his control, he is not affected by these 48 laws. He just plays with these 48 laws. And the moment we lose control of our attention, right, we become subject to these 48 laws.
So then that sutra will go this way. By virtue of his going beyond time and coming back, and when he comes back, he is not affected by time. By virtue of that property, this Purush Vishesh Ishvara is also Api, the Guru of Purvesham, of all those who came before. Why is he the Guru of all those who came? Because he went beyond time and he has come back, and when he comes back, he is not fettered by time again. And that is why. Sa Purvesham Api Guru Kalena Anavachedat. So this word ava over here, it needed a little contemplation. Why did he use the word ava? And then if we take the word avatar, we suddenly understand he's talking about something not just unconditioned by time, but being unconditional and coming back and playing in time and still remaining unconditioned by time. Now, so this is the sutra. We've just gone through the sutra. I just want to talk about something else over here, that the supreme consciousness, according to the Hindu tradition, is called as Shiva and Shakti. Shiva is that never changing aspect of that supreme consciousness, the unchanging aspect of that supreme. And Shakti is that ever changing aspect of the supreme. Both are one, right? Both are one, but Shakti is the ever changing aspect of that supreme consciousness. She is the creative aspect. And in this aspect of creation, she needs the sword of time. She has to divide into two. If everything is whole, there can be no creation. If everything is just one, there can be no creation. If you and I just remain one, we both have to be separate. Then there can be a relationship between you and I. So for the play of life, for the game of the universe, right? Shakti needed the sword of time to chid, to cut through everything. This cutting power of Shakti is known as Maya. This cutting power, where even though everything is whole, we experience it as the not whole. This is this cutting power of Shakti. So this power of Shakti to cut into two, to veil the consciousness, to cover the consciousness, to negate the consciousness, right, is called Maya. But Shakti is Shiva. She is not separate from Shiva. So how does this dual experience happen? And let us try to go into this so we can understand that that one point in time where beyond was timelessness and here was time. Now, in the beginning, Shakti and Shiva are one. And Shakti, it comes from the root Shak, to be able to have the power to do. So she is the power and Shiva is the power holder, the owner of the power. But there is really no difference between Shiva as the possessor of power and Shakti as the power itself. Thus, both Shiva and Shakti are pure consciousness. But Shiva is the changeless aspect of that consciousness, the static aspect of that consciousness. Shakti is the ever-changing, kinetic or active aspect. She is the power which creates the dualistic worlds, the three. And when she does this, she gains three aspects. She has three aspects. In her first aspect, she reduces the whole into parts. So she negates consciousness, which is whole, and creates khanda, parts in consciousness. That is her first power. This is called as Maya Shakti. Second, she has a Vikshep Shakti. From her womb, she projects the universe. Kalpana Shakti. She can, through her imagination, she projects the universe out and creates the universe. And the third is Sanskar Shakti. When she projects the universe, something remains as a what you call trace, and that's Sanskar. And these are the three aspects of Shakti. One, she negates consciousness. Second, imagination. And third, what you call memory. There's a trace of something left behind. And it is these three qualities of the mind. And when we are in imagination or memory, we are never in the present moment. We are always identified with past or future, right? And we can never experience that timeless moment. Now, we'll look at this from a different angle. Now, Our journey, we are going to divide it into two parts. The first part is from where we are right now to what we talked about today, Purush Vishesha Ishvara, right? So from our journey from non-crystallized soul to crystallized soul, or from essence to soul, real I, right? Then comes the second part of that journey where the real I merges into the universal I, right? Shakti goes back and merges into Shiv. The real I merges into the universal I. This is the second part of the journey. And Patanjali does talk about this journey from the third chapter onwards, right? Now, I'm just going to give some glimpse over there so we get to that point of time. So we saw that one single consciousness, which we called as Shiva, right? It had a dual aspect, a changeless aspect and a changeable aspect, which was called as Shakti. Now, this, in its wholeness, it divides into three parts, but it is still whole in those three parts. In the first, the I and the this, or the aham and the idam, I and the object, right? They are one unitary experience. This we call as Swayambhu. That is why we go to worship the Swayambhu Ling. So within that unitary experience, there is I, aham, and there is idam, this. But they are one experience. They are not separate experiences. This is the state of pure amness, the pure consciousness, the highest state of consciousness. Now the first transformation happens over here. Now in the second state, Shakti negates the idam, negates the this. She hides herself. And what remains is I only as, but not I as in aham, amness, but I as in looking. I'll put it in another way. I as in just to be. The seer. So this I over here was the being, just to be. To be. No seer. But here the I becomes a subject. I am looking at something. I am looking at something. But this something has hidden herself. Shakti has hidden herself. So this is just the pure state of looking. This state we can call as Sat, and this state we can call as Chit. So this state we call as Sat, he's looking. Chit means to know, he's looking, right? But he's not looking at anything. There is no object to look at because Shakti as the object has hidden herself, right? And then in the third state, there is the I as the looking and Shakti as the object of looking. He is looking at Shakti. He is looking at Shakti in the third state. Right? But they're still one. They're still one. They are still one. But now in that oneness, the first dualistic aspect has been created. So these are the three transformations of that pure consciousness. I just to be, I as in looking, and I looking at something, Shakti. Now please understand over here that before I go further, I just want to talk about this middle state. Because Mr. Tavaria has given the prism exercise. And when we are doing the prism exercise, we are looking, but we are not looking at anything. So Mr. Tavaria used to call this as the highest shortcut, the fastest shortcut, the prism exercise, because when you're doing the prism exercise, you're directly going into this subjective state of looking. And that is why the prism exercise is so powerful. Right? So these are the three transformations of that supreme state of consciousness. I, right? Aham, and either all as one, then only aham, but not as aham, but as subject, the seer, and then looking at something, the dualistic part. But all these are enclosed in one bubble, in one boundary. Now, at this point where the two are created, Shakti brings in the sword of time and cuts the two into half. She cuts this two into half. She takes the sword of time and she cuts this, and then this lower part, you're in time, in this part. So when we say this Purush Vishesh Ishvara, he has come to this point where he has experienced himself as free of time, but now he has to pass through these three transformations till he reaches the state of supreme consciousness that is still remaining for him. But he has reached this point where he is free of time. And because he is free of time, he can now come back, and he is not touched by time when he comes back. And he can come back either to play the game of life or to come back to help others to reach that same state. And that is why he is Purvesham, Sa Purvesham, Api Guru, Kalena, Na Avachedat. I'll stop over here. Any questions? I'll take questions from there. It's a very difficult sutra, but I hope that I've been able to come across in this. I mean, it's a very difficult sutra. Any questions? It's on. It's on. You want me to increase the volume? Yeah, we can increase the volume. Well, I think today there are no questions. Everyone's enlightened.
Rajen bhai, good evening.
Right. Good evening, sir. Good evening.
वो जो आपने शुरू में कहा था कि identify soul with the second body.
Right.
वो हम again I want to have a little if you can tell again कि वो जो differentiation है जो आप कहते हैं कि one is real soul and another is your second body or whatever you call it. तो वो डिफरेंस मेरे अभी भी समझ में ठीक से नहीं आया है कि जैसे अगर मैंने कुछ सोचा तो कॉन्शियस होकर सोच रहा हूँ एंड देयर इज अनदर पर्सन हु इज ऑब्जर्विंग कि मैं क्या सोच रहा हूँ, राइट? दिस व्हाट यू हैव सेड.
What I said is that attention जो हमारा ध्यान है,
right,
वो सोल की मालिकी का है.
ओके.
लेकिन वो जो ध्यान है वो मशीन ने अपहरण कर लिया.
ओके.
राइट. वो जो ऐसे करो कि मैं एक डार्क रूम में जाता हूँ. माय हिंदी इज वेरी गुड, सो जस्ट बेयर विद मी. और in that dark room I need a torch to see.
Right.
That torch is attention.
Okay.
आप समझ में आए मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? और then I see कि अरे मेरे पास ये one what do you call a biscuit of gold is lying in my dark room, right?
Right.
So that biscuit of gold which was outside my consciousness has now come into my consciousness. How has it come into my consciousness? Because of
that torch.
Attention, right? तो ये जो attention है which works through the five senses, it makes the eyes see, it makes the skin feel, everything works on attention. That is why in Gujarati we call attention as jeev, life. Taro jeev kya chotelo chhe. You understand?
Yeah.
Right? Now this attention belongs to the soul.
Right.
But it has been abducted by the
body.
Machine. And the machine uses it to fulfill its desires. Whether they are desires of the instinctive center, desires of the emotional center, desires of the intellectual center. You understand? Desires of the moving center. It uses that attention, whilst that attention was the property of the soul.
Soul.
Now, as long as the machine is abducting attention, we are in a state of identification, sleep. You see? Now, if we make an effort to detach from desires, detach from inclinations, detach from hungers, right? And detach from the greed of the machine, and then attention becomes free, and then it is the property of the soul,
Soul.
right?
Hmm.
When attention is taken away by the machine, when it becomes machine attention, it is subject to all the laws of the machine, klesha, karma, vipak, ashay. But the minute it goes back to the soul, it is free of all those laws. Right? Now, as the soul collects its attention back, a point comes where its will awakens, the will of the soul. Just now, the will of the machine has put the will of the soul to sleep. You see, the soul follows the will of the machine, right? And once the attention comes back at a certain point, the will of the soul awakens. And instead of the machine controlling the soul controls the machine. So the soul becomes the primary and the machine becomes the secondary.
So can we do something by meditation that this soul becomes primary, machine is detached with it? Is it
so
possible?
Every time we observe the workings of the machine, it starts with self-observation. And you observe the workings of the machine. As you observe the workings of the machine slowly becomes too weak to pull the attention, because now its desires and all are not going to work upon the soul, take attention. And then so attention, which was the property of the soul, goes back to the soul and it becomes Ishwar. Instead of the machine controlling it, Ishwar is the one who controls. It controls the machine. The primary body controls the secondary body. Just now the secondary body is controlling the primary body.
Right, sir. Thank you.
Sir, can I ask one question?
Oh, please, go ahead.
Sir, you said that we all are born with the previous trace, memory trace. Sir, if the previous memory trace is like more of dvesa, then how a person will come out of that? Because in this life also, my things will be more, जो भी हम करेंगे तो वो उसमें द्वेष ज्यादा होगा. Then how to come out of that? Because it is coming from the past life.
Yeah. See, one misconception is that we don't want to come out.
Yes.
We want to look, observe. The very act of observation brings us out.
But sir, that dvesh is already there, imprinted in my memory.
Yes. It is already there.
Yes.
And that dvesh, you will observe the workings of that dvesh.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Now, supposing you have given me, say, your toy to play with.
Yes.
And then you come back and you ask for the toy. I'll say it was never yours. It was mine in the first place.
Yes.
Can you see how the dvesh has come out?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
So, but now if I'm observing myself, I suddenly see the working of this dvesh and I pause over there. Can you see? And I don't allow it to control me. I give you your toy back.
Sir, will it be possible because so much of dvesh is there?
Does not matter. One moment of consciousness is more than enough for thousands of years of dvesh.
Okay, sir.
So our effort is to rise in consciousness.
Okay, sir.
Right? So don't worry about that.
Okay.
The thing is, are we practicing or not? That is most important.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
It doesn't matter if we fail in our practices completely, 100%.
Okay, sir.
But the very fact that we are practicing is a big thing.
Sir, may I say something?
Sir, Vatsala ji, just a minute. Sir, I am adding to Anju's question. Like, I will talk about my example. So, all the negative things, if I don't react, I put a pause. So, I put a pause, I don't react. But the thought still comes in my mind. Some aspects, the thought, I would say, has reduced the intensity. some thoughts, some patterns. But when it comes, I smile and I still say, "ये फिर से आ गया है दिमाग में." I am aware and then again I pause. Is this the right way? The thought will also diminish because thought comes.
So this is what you are doing is very good, because that is the practice of non-identifying with the thought, non-identifying with the feeling. The thought comes, the feeling comes, I don't want to return her toy. But I say I don't want to identify with it. I don't want to go with it. It is like one friend has come and in the middle of the night he wants to take me gambling. Right? And I say, I'm not coming with you. Similarly, I say the same thing to this thought. I'm not coming with you. Right? And slowly it weakens over a period of time. And as it weakens, a point comes when it cannot take any attention from me. Can you see? Then machine attention has become soul attention.
But it's okay. Suppose we fail also sometimes. Because
we fail and we keep failing.
Oh yes.
We keep failing, right? And one of the beauty is this, to remain balanced when we fail.
Yes, that is true.
Yeah. And
but then the
see,
thought also comes that today you failed.
Doesn't
You
matter.
were not able to hold it or
Just
have
look
that
at that
exercise.
thought. See, we have been failing for thousands of years. All these thoughts and all these feelings, you see, where my selfishness, I don't want to give it back to her, right? Now that selfishness has been with me for thousands of years. You say in one night it will go away just by looking at it. You see, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time.
Okay.
And a little bit of grace.
Yes. Yes, Vatsala ji, I'm
Rajen
just adding you. Sorry.
Can you explain about creating the soul? I didn't understand that.
Okay, I'll explain again.
Yes, thank you.
What did I say is the property of the soul? What is the property of the soul? Attention.
Yeah, correct. You just said that. Right.
And who has taken away that attention?
The body machine.
The body machine, to fulfill its desires. Right? Now, as I observe my desires, I separate attention from the machine and it goes back to the soul. Right?
Oh, right. You put the diagram first. I got the.
You got it? And a point comes where the soul now can control the machine instead of the machine controlling the. And that is the point of Ishvara. The point of Ishvara, the controller.
Right. Thank you so much.
Huh?
Sir?
Yeah.
So you took the words out of my mouth when you said that we fail and it impales. It's so true. For example, an old hurt. You are aware that by process of thinking after your lectures on the sutras, my awareness was high. I contemplated, discovered it was my ego that was hurt and nothing had happened. That hurt came from a bruised ego. That awareness was there, but still the feeling of anger was there. How could this happen? Finally, and it was such an unpleasant feeling. I felt I was in a cesspool. But what took me out of it successfully was intense prayer, intense longing. I don't want this hurt does not define me. I just want to get rid of it. And I really prayed to my Ishtadevata. I prayed and prayed and prayed. In a week's time, I was really felt cleansed. But as you said, you need grace.
Little bit of grace.
Ultimately, grace is needed. Any amount of thinking, sharpness, intellect, it works up to a point.
But you know what the Hindu Shastra says? That if you're deserving, the grace has to come.
Yes, very true. But
So
that effort has to be.
Our whole effort is just to make ourselves deserving.
Yes. And the sincerity of the desire. Sincerity, not hold on to our bad things. These lectures are very transformative, sir.
Thank you.
It's made
Thank
a
you.
big change. In my case, I can tell you it's made a great change. And I go through all the notes again and again. It's opened up a whole new world for me.
Thank you. Do you send these notes to everyone? No? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
Samarjit,
good
Maybe you could
evening,
please.
ask
Rajen.
Hema you could ask Hema if she wants to.
Yes, sir, please, Ketav, please send it across. Yes, Samarjit, please go ahead.
Good evening, Rajan
Good evening. Good evening.
sir.
No, now the net is.
Ma'am, we can't hear you, ma'am. Maybe you, if you can
Her
switch off.
net seems to be a little bad, I think.
Yes. Samarjit, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear. I can hear.
Yes, please
I
ask
can
your
hear.
question.
Hello.
You'll have to repeat the question. We didn't hear anything.
I didn't. I haven't asked it yet. Sir, this question is not related to the current topic, Yogasutra, but I have a doubt which I wanted to clear.
Yeah, please.
In one of your old lectures, I heard, you were talking about the centers which have small
Samarjit, maybe you want to turn off your video because your connection is not that great.
which give the energy to the center. Okay.
Now ask the question without the video. Yeah.
In that lectures, in that lecture, somebody asked you about the healing modalities, and you said that we should not be practicing healing modalities since we make use of the large accumulator, and that sex energy should be used only for the spiritual purpose. So I wanted to get some clarification on this. So as since many of us in this group, we are using healing modalities to cure like things and to for many other things. So I had this doubt when I heard and it was you didn't clarify in that lecture properly. So can you please clear something on this?
See, it's a very controversial topic. I don't go very much into it. But, there's something called water mining. In the sense that if I dig a well on my farm and I take water out of the well from that farm, and then there are underground streams which replenish the well, the water comes back in the well. But in the core of the earth, there is a whole layer of water. And people have started extracting that layer of water from deep in the earth. And this is not a well, it is called water mining because the earth cannot replenish that water again. Once it is extracted, it is gone. Similarly, till we learn to work with the large accumulator, till we learn to work with the sex energy, when we are healing people, we are giving energy, we are using something like water mining, something which we will not get back. And that is why we have to very intelligently and very, decide where we want to use these techniques of pranic healing and Reiki and all of that. I'm not much in favor of using them, but I will leave it to you. I don't want to get into all these controversies, but it is
no, I got
like
your
water
point.
mining, water mining.
Okay. And one question I had regarding refining exercises. So
Yes,
I've been
please.
practicing refining exercise, and lately what I've experienced it earlier it used to be inhalation and exhalation, like outside and inward movement. Now I'm feeling somehow a circular movement of the chest and the abdomen, and it's like circular. So is it fine?
It's very good. Just sense it. Don't interpret it just now. That's all.
No, I just wanted to know I'm not going wrong. The only
No, you're going very
concern
well.
is.
Something is awakening, and just feel it and sense it.
Okay. And one more question, like we were discussing Shiv and Shakti today. So we have two words like Sargun and Nirgun. So are these in any case related to like Shiv and Shakti only? Sargun and Nirgun Roop of God.
Yeah. So when we come into time, right? I mean, the very next sutra is saying that how do we call that Ishwar? Tasya Vachaka Pranav. His name is Pranav. Can you understand? So that Ishwar is Nirgun, but for us to relate to it, we need to give it a name. So he gives it a name Pranav, Omkar. This is just a very, what do you call, ordinary translation which I'm doing, which is going to be the next sutra, which we'll do next week, right? So what I'm trying to say is that for relationships, there has to be form, and in the form there has to be color, so that you and I are separate. If we are all doing with the formless, then who is you and who am I, right? So there is a state of formlessness, and there's a state where to enjoy life. Sat Chit is formless, but Anand is with form, right? We have to enjoy life also.
Okay. And one thing more, like when we were you were discussing Guru example, you said Guru is the one who gives knowledge even to Indra and God. So what does this exactly means?
So we won't take Indra in the sense of gods, just take them as when you reach a certain state of consciousness, say Indra, connected with the senses. So in yoga, you may reach a state of called Indriya Jai, where you have what do you call got power, controlling power over the energy which works through the senses, right? Then you have become Indra. But this Guru can even give a teaching to that Indra, a person who has reached that state, right?
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Shall we stop over here? Hemaman?
Yeah, ji sir. No more questions.
So maybe you want to just close if you would like to close.
Ji sir.
Yeah.
So we will just close the session. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.